There's a universe where I'm not in trouble right
Don't think
now.
about this. This is actually saying not true.
Yeah, I know. Alrighty then.
Chris, say that again. Chris, say that again.
If the multiverse theory is true, then there has to be a universe in which it isn't.
Any questions from last night? Yo, Satya, put it away.
It's too early for this late night Tumblr.
Memes.
So here's what's up. Aside from the ceiling, we are finishing the chapter tomorrow. Right? So
Do we have like a review day just for reviewing trig?
Yeah.
yeah, but like so we're not taking the test tomorrow. It's Friday, right? So homework today 105 to 110. It's only 6 problems.
Wait, what? Oh, normal. Like normal.
It's a normal homework.
You said 105.
105 to 110.
No, you said 102 to 105.
No, 105 to 110.
Oh.
I thought
What are you doing?
If the difference is 5 and you count both ends, then there's 6.
That's not
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How math works? Yeah. All right. So, are there questions from last night's homework on 323?
CPM, you should be good at math, but also our homework doesn't follow the options.
No, it does. If you count the end caps, Satya, is that food resting right on the desk? When's the last time you think that desk was cleaned?
2 years.
When you got sick and Miss Bluder wiped down all your
Yeah, probably. And Mr. Kabila was just out yesterday with stomach issues.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with crap.
All right, any homework questions for real? Going once, twice,
sit in silence.
3 times a lady.
So we wait, what was he saying? I couldn't hear. If you missed it, pay the pressure.
All right, more tangent ratio, right? So who can remind us what tangent and or inverse tangent does and why we use it? Thomas?
The tangent, you could find slope using the angle by doing
Slope what? I agree with slope what? It's the slope,
yeah, the hypotenuse.
slope ratio, right?
Yeah.
See,
So we can find slope ratio, or maybe
For the inverse tangent, you can solve for
inverse tangent will tell us the angle of either elevation, declination, or whatever we're looking at when we know the slope angle. Declination is going down. It's a fun word. Inclination up from the horizon. And this is later in the book, but every time we talk about angles, you compare to the horizon. Angle of elevation or inclination, like incline. Angle of declination or negative from the decline. Right? The more you know.
Incline.
All right, so this is a lie because we know more than the textbook. But they wrote this as one of those like, oh, it's sad, you only have the table we gave you. Which I'm glad that I teach an advanced class and not a regular class because we can just keep rolling. So back to the Leaning Tower of Pisa, right?
but is it least 10?
So if our slope here is 10, pull out that resource page real quick, or at least a person at each group have that resource page out.
But they're a perfect.
If you check your trig table for a slope of 10, right? Because here we can determine that the slope is 10.
84 degrees.
That tells us the angle of slant, and that is an angle of elevation because it's off of this horizon going up 84. So we looked at an angle of decline at the bottom. How far has the tower sunk?
Yes.
Of course, that angle of decline would be how many degrees? 6, right? Because it's the complement.
It is an immediate danger of collapse. If it moves literally like this much, it's gonna fall.
Good stuff.
That's the question.
Oh yeah, because 84 and then like
Thanks,
goes
Chris.
up to like
Good segue. So we got this, and this is because we're not using the trig table. Like this is my own question. We got this from standing here and looking there, right? Like there, the tower's right there, and the tower's straight above me. So, at what distance out? And we'll assume the vertical stays 50, even though we know it would come down just a little bit. At what distance out would you decide I need to run away because that tower's about to fall? So with your team, using what we talked about yesterday, the problem tells you if it's a slant less than 83 degrees, it's probably going to fall, right? So how far out from the tower, like this 5 meters, right, what does that become if we're at an 83 degree? So I want to see if you guys can figure this out because I have not directly shown you how to do this yet. At least I don't think so.
And then draw our little magic triangle. And this one's 83.
I think this would be pretty simple.
Still 50, so what's this? So, we should get this little calculator. And
I think I know something.
Talk with it.
no, that's what it's called.
Oh yeah.
Okay, what is 83?
No, portion will work. Yeah, you can't use it. You can't use it with portion.
8.14.
Dang frickety fat point.
Actually,
So, and then that equals 50 divided by x.
you know what?
You're right, sir.
4x equals 50.
Absolutely.
And then we do 50
it's
divided by 8.
The angle is 1, it would fall.
Oh, you sort of.
If the tower is above you when you
No. 1 times 50 divided by the tan of 80.
is it feet or meters?
It's 5.83.
Dang, it'll
Is it 5.83 meters?
What?
you're gonna die.
It doesn't have to be less than 83. Wouldn't that be still standing?
That would be like.
You solve however you want to solve.
That's
That's just
possible.
what I started.
Run forward. 6.139.
Dum dums. Like we all get a dum dum at the end of class. Like this.
It's 6.139.
I need to go buy more though. That's my danger.
Mario at his last like right in front of Bowser.
I've heard 2 different answers floating around. I've heard something over 6, and I've heard like 5.8. So I'm a little concerned.
I mean, it's probably like somewhere around like 5.1.
What are you typing in?
Between 5 and
I'm
7.
doing random.
I'm no Asian.
That sounds like a chord essentially.
I know what it is.
So
Oh,
the tangent of 83 then has a slope ratio of 8.14 to 1. That's right, isn't that?
I mean, depending on how we round it.
I'm gonna
So
try this one.
Richner, I'm coming to you in a second, Thomas. Richner typed this in his calculator, and he got 8.14.
Yeah. Wait, what?
But he didn't do any of this. He typed tan of 83 into his calculator and got that. That is your slope ratio,
Yeah.
right? So whereas this is 10, the slope would come down as the tower starts to fall or sink deeper. So Thomas, what'd you do? You had your hand up.
I didn't do tangent of 83 because it says if it's less than, so I just did 82.9999999 until I got bored. And
Okay.
And then I
He's honest.
50 divided by that.
So what'd you get?
I got 6.139228045.
That's all I got.
6.14.
So for all of those
I got the
lines-
same thing.
You just see
I
that
typed
like
in 83. Now, here's what's up. If I solve this proportion, right, we can swap places with my unknown because denominator, numerator, diagonal can swap places. If you don't remember that, we just cross multiply and then divide. But this comes out to be 6.13, but that's still safe, as Thomas is saying, right? So as soon as this distance becomes 6.14,
oh heck.
I'm out.
I mean,
That
I'm out.
Peace.
quite a while though.
Right?
I'm out.
This
Maybe
is
take a
over
couple
50
steps.
meters tall. Yeah, so as every movie incorrectly shows you, it just runs
Yeah. No, you have to run towards it. I learned this
So,
in Gumball.
there's the tower.
Move it like that.
Alright, does this make sense how we're using
Tower's
this?
over there. You don't move away. The tower's
You
falling.
know what? That one
What's the
episode of
radius
Gumball
of the
was
tower?
falling.
The radius, I'm not sure.
always gonna be there.
I mean, even if it's 5
It'll
meters, I'm not
always be
staying
there
around
every
that.
time.
You're asking for trouble.
But it's not that late.
It's God saying don't cheat life or they'll be theirs.
Damn.
That's it.
You must bear life.
Actual height is 56.67 meters. So this is what I'm telling you. A CPM giving you like pretty darn accurate. So I guarantee the height that we just talked about, that 50 meters, that's probably not 100% accurate. It's probably a little bit more since the real height is.
You should have done 60.
So the original height was 60 meters, but the whole thing sunk and then it angled, right? So it's lost over 3 meters, guys. That's 9 feet
That's not okay.
to sinkage. The lowest side, sorry, the highest side is
That's how you spell tons.
TON, yeah, the European way to spell
Tones.
it.
Isn't that actually more than a regular than our ton?
Well, it
14,000
depends. So,
tons.
like, there's perspective, guys.
It's actually
That's a true building.
Quite a bit.
That's the tower.
Oh, nice.
Right.
I want to run up that thing.
Hold on, we're trying to see how big it is. Width.
If you took enough people and put it on the shorter side, would it roll over?
Width of the walls. I don't think that's the entire width. Oh, outside diameter. Here you go. Outside diameter. About 15 and a half meters for diameter of the tower.
So you gotta go 8 feet to the side.
2.5 meters.
Yeah, you just got to scoot 8 feet over. Now, if you want what we were talking about yesterday, the pictures of people, like perspective pictures.
More
That
praise
almost
the wall.
that,
Did not have any like.
that one.
That's pretty good.
That's good.
That's
Yeah, I mean,
probably
you
a
have to
little bit
fall
of
over.
Photoshop because he like cut off his fingers that would wrap behind the tower.
Yeah, and he's also about to fall over.
And that's the point. Right? So if you go there, go to the Leaning Tower, take the picture of you holding it up.
No, go up, go up.
There.
This just blows me away.
Or you could go
Like,
to the
picture,
other side.
just how slanted it really is.
Look at all those people that are just
Just
right
go
over.
up.
Go
Those
up.
people that can't run sideways or they're
Look at that. Top row,
Then
second row.
it's
That's Photoshop, dude.
That's not. Well, maybe a little bit, but not
I
really.
can't tell if he should have a shadow or not. Yeah, it's hard to know.
Hey, look at there's no shadow. What do you mean?
Well, they're shadowing on him, though. They're shadowing on his face and everything. So you can tell the light is coming from this direction.
This might be on the ground.
And they're shadowing on his legs. His shorts look kind of awkward, but I don't know. It might be Photoshop.
Did you know that there's a time when it's exactly high noon and everything vertical doesn't have a shadow?
Well, it depends on where you are,
It
though.
does have a shadow. It just has
Yeah, I
a
know.
shadow
I mean, not
straight
like,
down.
not like.
That so
Not
what you're
shadow.
talking about is how we figured out the Earth was round.
No, you can't see it.
We like so
What are
we
you
have
talking
this conversation. Now this is really interesting because this has to do with trig in a way as well. So let's say Richard and I are like 5,000 years ago, and we're mathematicians. And we're trying to figure stuff out.
I am a
And Chris comes to me and he says, you know, at high noon nothing has a shadow because the sun's directly above.
But they don't have.
Well,
Unless it's like.
well, okay, let's set our watches together, right? Let's set our clocks, whatever we
Or
have.
5,000.
And I'm gonna walk to this town miles away.
Let me pick up my sundial.
Yeah, let me pick up my
Let me
sundial.
carry that.
So Richner and I, we say, okay, 5 days from today, at noon, look for your shadow. And of course, Richner stays there, and he, I don't have a shadow yet. I go to this town miles away. I do. Because the sun's angle as it hits the Earth, now it would have to be a lot of miles away.
The Earth isn't.
Far.
So keep
The Earth
dragging
is
your
flat,
ox
first of all.
cart with your
Yes.
sundial.
First of all, the Earth is flat.
was flat and the sun was tiny and really far ahead of us.
First of
Depends
all,
on how the sun would interact with it.
If it went like this.
no, the Earth is flat and
All right, so let's practice your trig skills. Try ABC here.
I don't know how to do these.
We just did
Yeah.
So you can use your trig table if you want the approximate,
Okay.
or we talked about.
This is my
I don't know how to do them without using like the problems that
Now
you
notice
No,
that there's
that was
two
good.
unknowns.
It was 79 against
Fun.
W.
I see
Let's
some
see.
line.
Let's see.
So we would just do
Okay,
it
so
We do both. So I'll get another.
What does this theta have to be?
Oh, you can just use triangle sum theory. No, but you have to solve for the x or y, whatever's the w.
Whoa.
What would this theta be? Yeah, this is not trig. This is just triangle angle sum
I
theorem.
thought you had to solve for the variable.
We are going to.
Oh.
What does this say it have to be?
Oh, 100 minus
2.3.
Yeah.
Oh.
2.3.
The complement, right? The complement. What does this have to be?
180
I
minus
got
72.
You're really typing this into calculators?
No, I wasn't typing that into a calculator. It desperately clears things.
Now, you don't need both angles. If you have one angle, that's fine. But yeah, all of these they're not being.
Wait, how do you find the angle?
Those were just triangle angle sum theorem.
No, how do you find the measurements of W, but
Let's set it up.
no.
So
Hold on.
rise,
10, 11 times
run, right? The slope, rise, run. So tan of 11. Please write this out, especially if you're struggling. Tan of 11 equals rise compared to run.
Hold on, I need to write this down.
This is an easy proportion to solve because my W is on top.
10 divided by 12.
No, tan of 11
No,
times
10
12.
times.
So my advice, type 12 first and you don't have to hit multiply. You just type 12 tan 11.
Oh, this is easy.
In 3 minutes, Satya went from this is the hardest thing in the world to this is.
Actually, the hardest thing in the world is bedrock.
I got it to the nearest.
I thought it was a titanium.
I mean, you were
Rise and run.
Actually, the hardest thing in the world is a line.
Actually, no, the hardest thing in the world is being Super Mario Odyssey without touching a coin.
Holy heck. Yeah, go into W. W is 2.3. There's guaranteed points.
But you guaranteed touch them.
Notice, if we have both of our acute angles, you can set up whatever trig ratio you want. So in B, I've written out both because I didn't like the first one. Right? Tan of 68 equals 8 over Z is not as convenient as tangent of 22 equals Z over 8. Because now I know Z is just 8 times my tangent of 22. Now I can just as easily solve the one that would be 8 divided by tangent of 68. I just prefer this.
Oh, I thought that Z was a 2.
No.
Divided by.
So my 2's will have definite curves.
Oh,
So
yeah,
if we go back to W,
it's 2.3.
2.3.
2.3,
Then yawn.
5, 6, 37.
Next is.
So basically, just write tan 68
There you
equals
go,
rise
Thomas.
over run.
3.2320980.
So you write tan of the adjacent angle equals rise over run.
That's it.
And
I'm
if
writing
you're
it
on the
down.
other side,
It's-
you can
We,
do
we
the
talked about this
formula.
yesterday. Tangent just spits out slope. Slope is just rise over run. Satya, I love you.
Okay, Z.
You are just so much fun to teach.
No, Z.
Now, this is awkward.
What is this?
What?
You have to manipulate this triangle in your head. Because this is not rise and run, because that's not a right angle here. So if I manipulate this in my head, sorry, I didn't mean to still be using
You
it.
have rotation and reflection.
Why don't we just rotate the entire thing?
Or that. You could do it the other way. The other way would be better.
It's 18. The right side is 90 and top side.
What's with the whistling? I have to explain to my 7th graders that that's not appropriate during the class. I really didn't think I needed to explain to 8th graders that it's inappropriate to just
Trust me,
whistle
you
in
should
the
always
class.
think about 4.810379544.
Wait, I didn't even go back to Z yet. Is that Z? Or
Z
what?
is 0. No, this. What I just told you is X.
Okay, but I didn't even hear it. So what was Z?
15.
Or do you not still have it? 0. Point what? So you keep like
It's like
fading out.
0.40402622.
Not that.
So really,
That's the slope ratio. That's slave.
wait, did you solve the proportion or just type in
Yeah, I think
tangent of
that's
68?
right. That's what I got. I did the other
I'll
one.
double check it.
I did it.
It's
It's
not
not.
that. It's 3.2322098.
Yeah. So-
What if you broke your back?
So hold up. Let's talk about this because this is a mistake people will make.
Oh, I
You
did that.
typed in the tangent of the angle, but you did not solve the proportion. What you found was the slope ratio. But we would then need to multiply that by 8 because the run is 8. So you're 0.404, all that. If you multiply that by 8, you should get 3.23-ish. So that should be your z. Over here, your x, 15 times tangent of 18. 4 point what, Levi?
No, 1.873.
873.
That's what I thought.
I think you got the slope ratio.
I got
It's
1.877.
So Levi. Yo, I need to ask Levi a question. Cool. Did you get 0.32?
Oh, I just put 15.
Yeah, you need to multiply that by 15 because our run is 15.
Yeah.
So it's 4.87-ish.
Just round it to 9.
I ran out of screen, so.
Oh, I just figured it out. Never mind. It's not.
Satya, make up your mind.
No, it's irrelevant now. It was about the first one.
I'm glad somebody else said it.
No, remember when
Yes,
Thomas
made it
spared a bunch of 9s?
Yes.
Yeah, the reason why we got the same answer is because the calculator takes a bunch of your calculator takes a bunch of 9s and makes it round it up. I know that's irrelevant now, but
It was irrelevant then, too.
All right. So we're all good with why we. Are we all good with why we needed to rotate C to get the vertical and really it's to get the perpendicular relationship of rise and run, as opposed to when it was flipped like the wrong way. Our relationship right now is some angled side and then some flat side, but like that doesn't work because we can't do trig if we don't have a right angle. So we have to have the rise and run to be able to do that. Now this is where SOHCAHTOA comes in. When you have a firm grasp on SOHCAHTOA, you don't need to rotate things because you're more familiar with it. So all you really care about right now is the TOA part of it, but SOHCAHTOA is this. Which what we talked about yesterday was what this really means is tangent of the angle that you're looking at equals the opposite side over the adjacent side, but
how does that mean TOA?
because TOA,
That is not an A.
adjacent,
Oh.
A,
Satya, what are you doing?
opposite O,
I got it.
but not hypotenuse. It cannot, your adjacent side cannot be hypotenuse. So from here, opposite, adjacent. Or if you were trying to actually solve for the theta, opposite, adjacent. Because I can't use the hypotenuse.
I'm just shaking my head and
Well, you don't have to know this method yet. I just keep like a little bit sprinkled in here and there, and eventually it will all make sense. But do you? All right, so let's look at one of two.
Okay.
Now they tell us we're allowed to use calculators, right? But I like to cheat and use my own methods.
I like to cheat.
So-
I like using calculator.
First,
Why can't wait till we have calculators that just like you take a picture of the problem?
you do. It's called photo math, but it doesn't work all that well.
Wait, what is the thing?
There's apps.
It's called, isn't it on Excel too?
I need it.
Probably doesn't work very well.
It doesn't work very well. It has to be very easy to solve. Like if you took a picture of 5x plus 3 equals 18 or something like that, it could solve that. But remember, you're only going to hurt yourself because then when it comes to masteries or things like that, or your actual job that you end up getting, oh wait guys, my phone can't solve this problem. We can't move forward with my project. Like, no, come on. All right, first check. Is this set up correctly? Do my degrees add up correctly? Because sometimes they play tricks on us. So 32 and 58 do make 90. They are complementary. That's good. So we then start to dig deeper, right, into those accurate things. So do we have 32 or 58 on your trig table? I forget if we did or not.
Let me see.
No, we do not. Right? So that's on purpose. That's why they give us this triangle now. According to this triangle, the tangent of 32 is what?
0.6. Oh, right. Yeah.
You're smart.
Wait, run over.
Rise over run.
That's not rise. That's run.
Rise over comparing to this
Oh, I
angle.
did it like.
Wrong.
Hold on.
Well, I said 32.
Oh.
You're looking at 58.
Santiago, you failed again.
It's wrong.
So, no, actually he's right, but the problem is he has to write out tangent of 58 equals 8 over 5, which is 1.6.
It's wrong.
Okay, so tangent of 32 equals 5 over 8 is equal to 0.999.
What?
Tan 32.
Because
is not
doesn't
equal
5
to
eighths becomes 0.625?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I have to multiply.
Tan over 32 does not equal 5 over 8.
It doesn't.
Like, after you
equal-
cross
It's not
multiply.
tan over 32.
I mean
tan
tan-
times 32.
Tan times 32.
Tangent
Not
of.
equal 38.
Tangent of 32.
Yeah, tangent
Oh, of 32.
Type in tangent of 32.
0.6 before.
0.6248. It would round up to this.
What?
If you type in tangent 58,
So we don't have to cross multiply?
it would round. Well, we're not solving for anything here. We're just kind of checking the triangle, make sure it works.
1.6.
Yeah, we're not really solving
So
anything.
how is getting this slope checking?
Hmm?
So how is getting this slope checking that this triangle?
This was going to lead us to, hey, look, your calculator has this formula built into it, which I've been introing you over the past 2 days, and really 3 now.
Really?
What this problem is getting the class to do, like a general class, not of 9 brainiac nerds, is, okay, if we don't want to do this on our own, what if we type it in the calculator? Is it going to be accurate? Yeah, pretty darn. Like, very, very close. 64.
What if we use the supercomputer in our hands instead of a paper wheel?
Do you recognize the number 0.017?
The program on calculators has to be
No, like whenever you press sin cos tan, then 1, you get that. Then I press
No,
sin
sin
cos
cos
tan,
tan,
sin cos tan 1.
So think about it.
Actually,
You're
if you do
plugging,
sine, cosine, sine, cosine, sine, cosine, tangent, tangent, tangent of 8.
you're plugging a function into a function. So your function is just running multiple times.
Oh.
So first, it's
So
going to
like 5
compute.
times 1 times 1 times 1.
First, it's going to compute the innermost function you plugged in. Then once it has that value, it will move out to the next function. Once it has that value, it will move out to the next function. So all you're doing is stacking functions. But I would much prefer that you're with me up here.
Okay.
So if we look at these 3 triangles, now solving for an unknown piece, I want us to not talk. Take like 3 minutes on your own. Try these out. See if we can do them using the calculator and setting up that ratio. Why do I have a yellow gun? Take this from me.
Yes.
Lost. God dang it. Mega Vsauce won. Wow. It's pretty good. What was the contest? You should immediately recognize that the x should be smaller than 8 because the other angle would have to be larger, and by hinge theorem, we know how these triangles relate to each other. So if you somehow get an answer bigger than 8, that should set off an alarm in your head. Same recognition with the x and b. It is set across from the smaller of the acute angles. It should be smaller than 9. If you get an answer bigger than 9, that should set off an alarm. C you should recognize.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I can get C.
That's just where my
If you
sentence
get something
ends.
larger or smaller than 14, then you know you did something wrong.
If you get anything that isn't correct.
If you
Negative
get
1.
anything that's not 14.
So just to make sure I give you the respect that you deserve as students, even though I know that you're smart.
Am I
not-
done?
Chill. Am I spitting answers at you?
Yeah.
Nope. I want to feel accomplished.
I'm going to set up these ratios up here while you finish your work.
You must finish your work.
Where did I get 11? I got 11 from the.
It's already.
I think Paul.
Please no.
Dude, just don't look up here. I'm not writing answers. I'm just setting stuff up. Calm it down.
She's
About the list, so I can
chill.
see. Thank you.
Also,
Okay.
slow.
I know.
I did that right.
Mentally, just workflow wise.
Yes, that's true. Good mentally, so it's probably fine.
What? Mr. Hudson, can we do that right here?
You could.
Math has
So
never
if I
been so
visualize this as that, then the 9 is here and the X is there. Right? So if I kind of flip my triangle around,
So if you just do
Just
it
like
we
flip it.
could
Well,
do
what coincidence?
17 X over 9. Yeah, so 9 times tangent 17.
That's less than that. It kept
What
going.
a coincidence
That
that
would be
is.
like, I wouldn't be
You
that
can write the answer
direct.
for that, Mr. Hudson.
Mr.
Not
Hudson,
on.
That's
Sorry,
pretty crazy, Melissa.
You like reflected the triangle would be. It wouldn't be
So
like that
it's
if you just
still,
rotated.
it's still a, what's,
I tell the
what's
answer.
type of,
What a coinko dinko.
No, how I did this, I think I would have to reflect. Because if I just rotate, then it would be facing this direction.
Yeah. So you have to
And the
reflect.
73 would be down here, and then 9 and X, which still works. Like you can still do.
Wait, Mr. Hudson.
Or you know what you could do?
You do the
Triangle angle sum times 17 and then do it easier.
that's what I did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're already there.
See?
So X
But
over here,
I wasn't paying attention, so.
6.25. I didn't know that.
X over here,
2.75.
and oh man, this one's tough.
So
X over here.
Take your time.
It's a number.
Because if you type in tangent of 45, as we talked about yesterday, you get 1.
Wow.
That slope ratio is even.
14 times 1 equals 14. Holy crap. What is
Preguntas.
What's the
Space
difference?
Did you just
It-
not
it
repeat
Means
the
you should
same
pay more attention in Spanish, probably.
No.
Questions.
saying that, I realized.
But he never taught us. We're good at math, not Spanish.
Yeah.
Like very bad at language.
Say that in
Because I was
Spanish.
like, wait, 14 times 14.
You ready? You ready? Oh, well, Spanish though.
Can we do our homework now?
Good at math, but not
I did the
Spanish.
same proportion.
Just
I
have
got
to
the
do
wrong
our
answer.
homework.
That's because you're
You
bad.
can just finish.
So I figured.
You guys can start your homework.
I figured
That's
out
really
all
it.
this. Homework.
That's not.
Sorry,
Very good talk.
Oh, I found some new music yesterday that I think is
No,
pretty
you
cool.
just so
Yeah, I did the
Satia's
same.
music.
Yeah, Mr. Hudson. Who am I going on?
I did the same thing.
Not Spotify. Mrs. Pettigrew's using that.
Even screwed up. I was gonna do a good West Mac Thomas one, but Gunny sat down and moved.
Oh.
See what happens?
I'm guessing this is the Geico card.
This remind me of stuff.
Mine, by the way, is a scab post.